Hello and thank you so much for joining me for some Saturday night crafting. I hope you're all doing well and you've had a really good week. I have got a fun project tonight that involves quite minimal supplies and kind of just using what you've got. So I'm using up some old recycled printer paper. This is stuff that I printed out and it didn't quite work out, so I've put it under my desk ready to be used up as scraps. And then I'm going to use some dies. You could use hole punches if you want, if that's all you've got, any kind of solid shape. Now I'm using these dies from this stamp set. I don't even think they're available anymore, so I apologize if you want to get your hands on them and you can't. I will link everything I can in the description box below for you. I really wanted to use butterflies and these were right by my desk, so these are the ones that I'm using today. Now you do want to have the thinnest printer paper that you've got, so I had this stuff as scrap, but you really want nice thin paper because we're going to brayer over it and we don't want the edges to be too raised. We want it nice and low down. I'm using some low tack adhesive. So this stuff is from scrapbook.com. I thought this was sort of removable adhesive, but I think it's just low tack. So if you get some residue left on your cards when you go and peel up your little masks, I'll show you how to get rid of it because this stuff was stickier than I thought, and after I'd brayered over it, I kind of pushed that tape into the card. So you'll see a little bit of a hot mess, but it's easily fixable as long as it is a low tack or removable adhesive. So I'm going to place my butterflies all over my card and then I'm going to grab some ink. I'm using this shimmer ink from Lisa Horton Crafts. I treated myself to some new inks and I've got this ink pad holder which actually fits distress inks as well. Now Lisa ships worldwide and her products are amazing and this ink is amazing. So you can see the two tones on the top. That's because on white it is blue or like a teal color, but on black it's purple. So it is such cool ink to play with. I love this stuff and I really wanted a shimmery card. I kind of feel like butterflies and shimmer go well together. So I'm taking my brayer and just making sure that it's inked up really, really well. And it's going to take a few goes over top of my card base to get all this ink on there, but I felt like this was the easiest way to get the ink down and not shift any of those butterflies because they're only very lightly stuck down onto my card. A very, very small amount of removable adhesive, so you don't want to mess about too much, and it's really thin paper. Now do leave it if you can to dry, otherwise you are going to get nice inky fingers peeling all these up because the paper is quite wet. So if you can and you have time, leave it to dry. I was impatient, so I just started pulling them up. And at this point I was like, oh no, the adhesive is sticking to it. You can see those little dots. That's where my adhesive is stuck to the butterflies on the paper. But if you've got one of these, this is an adhesive remover. They are really, really, really handy and you can just remove and lift the adhesive instantly. It's so quick and easy to do. And honestly, if you don't have one of these in your stash, you need to get one. They only cost £1 or £2. They're not expensive and they have saved my life on many occasions. You just rub over it. It's like a really, really, really hard eraser and it doesn't really leave any bits off of it like an eraser would do. It just makes all the sticky stick to it. So I wanted to add a bit more onto the card to kind of take away some of that white space. I felt like it was a bit too white, and then I also had a little smudgy there from when I got too carried away and didn't let it dry. So I'm going to go ahead and smudge some of the ink onto an acrylic block. If you've just got like a non-porous surface like some acetate, do that. Squish a bit on there, add a bit of water, and then I'm doing some flicks with a paintbrush. And that kind of just blends it together a bit, takes away some of that bright white. I wanted more of like a one layer card, so you could do this direct onto your card base. I will stick it onto my card itself, but I am just sticking it nice and flat. Now, just to show you, you can use distress oxides as well, and distress oxides are fun because when we go and do the splattering, it then reacts in a different way. So I'm going to make sure I dry this one. I've got my heat gun out. I'm going to give it a really good dry so I can crack on and peel these up. And you can see this one was a lot more juicy, and so I got a bit more of a clear impression, and I used some dot and dab removable adhesive this time, so I didn't have quite the same mess. Now for this next technique, because I'm going to use paint, I wanted to use really thick cardstock. So I wanted to get a nice thick cardstock so that my paint wouldn't actually run through or bleed through my paper. So here's the same thing, but I've got really thick, chunky, I think this is like 400 GSM cardstock, and I've cut my butterflies out, and I'm going to use these cool new paints that I've got in my stash. This is a gold metallic set. I'll link this down below. I think it's available in most Amazons. And it's a lovely set that is very pigmented. And these are, I think, full-size palettes. So they're really, really big. And you get a lot of paint in each one of those. So they're quite nice. But I'm going to use this gold one here, which is actually called Gold Blue. I don't understand the name, but it's a company, I think, in China, and they sell on Amazon. But all I'm going to do is ink up my brush. I'm using a really kind of fluffy brush and just drag it over the top. Now, it's not going to be perfect. It won't be as perfect as the inks, but it's not far off because we've used the thick cardstock. And I can save these butterflies because that paint stuck to those butterflies beautifully in that same kind of the way it looks here, so I can use them on another card. So I'm just going to peel them up, and you can see I've got a little bit of more kind of chunky edges around where the paint kind of stuck under those edges of the butterflies. But I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to grab my paintbrush, add a bit of water onto it because I had quite a lot of paint on there, and just flick it. When I hold this up, you'll see what I mean by these paints. They are so pretty and so shimmery, and it's a whole big wide range of different kind of gold colors, which is quite fun. So I've got my card base and I've got my card panel, and I'm going to just trim down my panel so that it fits just inside my base. And you can see here how gorgeous is that. I love the shine and the shimmer. You don't need much more on this card because it's got enough bling already. I'm going to take off 1/2 centimeter on 2 of the sides, so I've got a nice tiny little border. So if you're working with American or North American size cards, just go with your standard card base and then cut off like 1/8 of an inch on all sides, and then you'll have a nice little border. I have this Lisa Horton stamp set, which I also got when I got my new ink pads, and I really love that big birthday and the fact that it comes with all those little cute sentiments. So I'm going to use that on this card. And for my ink, I'm going to use the Onyx Black, the VersaFine Onyx Black ink. It's a nice dark black ink pigment, and I'm using a stamp platform just so I can stamp it multiple times. But here you can see that gorgeous shine, and then the black just kind of pops off of it. Now I felt like it needed just something else to it, but I didn't want anything too blingy. So I've got these gems, which come in, I think there's about 5 different sizes on there, and they were just cheap on either Amazon or AliExpress. I'll try and find them and link them for you. Now, if you've got gems like this and you want them to match your card, if you've got permanent markers, you can always just color in those gems. Now, again, leave them to dry a little. I had no patience, so I colored them and picked them up right away, so I had nice black fingers when I was done. But this is a great way to stretch your products. So if you had like purple cards and you had like a purple Sharpie, you could just color in your crystal kind of clear gems and make them the color you want them to be, and they still shine and shimmer. So here is my finished card. I love how simple and quick and easy it was to do. You can use lots of different inks. You can use a shimmer ink like this Lisa Horton one. You could use your distress inks or distress oxide inks, or you could even use paint if that's all you've got. So 3 different ways that you can make this technique. And have fun. So I hope you enjoyed this one and give it a go. My links are down in the description box below, so if you want to follow me on Instagram or you want to join a Facebook group and share your mix with a bunch of people, those links are down there for you as well as a buy me a coffee if you'd like to support my channel in any other way. Now this is a little update. I had my woodworking course last Saturday, and it will be also this Saturday. So today, but the video will be up before I can post photos of what I was doing. So I've finished my bench today, but this is last Saturday when I was making the legs and getting it ready to go. If you wanted a little update on my woodworking course and how it's going, next week I'll post photos of the completed bench. But I hope you had a fantastic time. I hope you have a great weekend ahead, and I look forward to seeing you next week. Take care. Bye.